wasn't sure what I wanted to do initially. I was not leaning towards hospitality because I didn't know what hospitality was. So the front desk is like the nervous system of the hotel, right? So everybody, I don't care where the issues happen, they're going to come to the front desk to either complain about something or to ask for something to be taken care of. He was with Broughton Hotels. He's probably he convinced me to be a general manager when I didn't want to be a GM, but he convinced me, although I didn't like it, okay, I quickly got out of that and went back to being a director of sales and marketing.
Hello, everyone. It's time to another exciting episode of our podcast, Reshape Hospitality with Tech. I'm your host, Maria, and with me is my co-host, Kazim. Our special guest today is none other than Edmond, who is recognized as a trusted expert in the hospitality industry. He is not just an expert, he is an entrepreneur and your ultimate guide in hotel consulting. Russell, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Maria. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and speak.
I always start the interview by asking about our guest career journey. Now, I would request you to tell us about yourself. How did you start your career and what made you to think to work in this industry?
That's a loaded question. That's a good question, Maria. I went to college for hospitality management back, years and years ago. I'll just say that. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do initially. I was not leaning towards hospitality because I didn't know what hospitality was. So I was a business major. And at that time, the hospitality program was under the Department of Business or the School of Business. And then I said, well, let me just start taking some classes. I've taken marketing classes, I was taking business management classes, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I said, well, someone recommended, hey, they have a hotel program, hotel restaurant travel management program. That's what it was called. And I said, well, let me just take a couple of classes and see what that even entails, because as a kid, we traveled to hotels, but I didn't know anything about hotels. I never worked in one before. And so I took a class, and it wasn't a hotel class. It was a intro to hospitality management. And we basically spent the entire quarter talking about McDonald's, McDonald's, the restaurant. And I'm like, well, I definitely didn't want to work at a restaurant, but the information that he was sharing, the professor was sharing with us, was so interesting. And I'm like, well, this is interesting. So from that point, I took that class, and I took another kind of restaurant related class, and then started taking hotel related classes. And that's when I kind of like, this is something I can do. And it was something I could mix the marketing aspect that I love to do with hotel management. So from there, I went into it 100%, just taking hotel related classes, because I'd already taken my, the general education requirement. So I was just concentrating on my major courses at that time. And then from there, I just got exposed to one particular professor, Mr. or Dr. Professor Glenn Voss. He was more in the marketing part of it. And he was a guru, because he knew things that, that a lot of people didn't know, as far as not just hotel marketing, but marketing in general. And it just kind of piqued my interest and continued to go forward with it. And then eventually I got out of school, and my first job was with Marriott, and which was great, because Marriott is probably one of the best, and I still think this to this day, that Marriott is the best company out there when it comes to training new employees, with dealing with SOP, standard operating procedures. So it was the best place for me to start, because I did not have hotel background. I did not have a hotel background. I never worked in a hotel. Everybody, before you can graduate from this particular program, which is Cal Poly Pomona, you had to have 800 hours of work experience. My work experience came from a catering company. It didn't have anything to do with a hotel. So I had no hotel experience, and they hired me with no hotel experience. They trained me, and I want to say the rest is history. But I started off, and it was great. So I went from housekeeping to food and beverage to front office, and then went to another hotel. Then got more operational experience, night manager to a assistant general manager to a sales manager to a director of sales and marketing to a general manager. I mean, that was basically my progression from when I started, at Cal Poly Pomona to probably just maybe several years ago before I started Russell of Hotels.
You mentioned you started your career journey from housekeeping, manager training to night manager, assistant general manager, sales, and now as a hospitality entrepreneur. Can you tell us about the struggles and difficulties you faced during this transition?
Housekeeping was, in fact, I think that was, out of all my, the disciplines that I did in hotel, I think housekeeping was probably the most rewarding and probably the most fun. It was the hardest. It was hardest as far as physical work is concerned, but just, learning a new language, because a lot of my housekeepers spoke Spanish. So I got a chance to utilize the limited Spanish that I knew, so it was great from that aspect. They were great people. They were hardworking. But, when I first inherited this one particular hotel, it wasn't an easy hotel because there's a lot of turnover, a lot of people that, maybe didn't need to be, employed at that hotel or employed under me. So it was a lot of, what am I trying to say? There was a lot of disciplining that had to go on, and you had to basically shift from the employees that you had to new employees. I had to bring new employees in because they weren't working out. So it was definitely probably, like I said, it was one of the toughest ones, but it was one of the funnest opportunities that I had or experiences that I had, because I got a chance to mold people to what, the Marriott way or the way that I needed them to be. And that was a good thing. So from transitioning from there to like a front office position, once you're a manager, you're a manager. You know how to manage people, but now you're dealing with, firsthand guest interaction. Because housekeeping, you had a lot of employee interaction, but not a lot of guest interaction. Every now and then you would see a guest and you'll have a conversation with them, but they weren't coming looking for you. They would go to the front desk. So the front desk is like the nervous system of the hotel, right? So everybody, I don't care where the issues happen, they're going to come to the front desk to either complain about something or to ask for something to be taken care of. So that was a whole different, you have to be in a different mindset. You have to be in a different headspace, because now everything is coming to you. And if you didn't deal with that before, it was kind of difficult at first, because now I had to listen to every guest complaint and come up with a solution, pretty quickly to make sure these things, to make sure that the guest experience was where they needed it to be. And, that was kind of difficult at times, but I kind of got used to that. And then it ended up working out for the best. But it was definitely a challenge for me coming from housekeeping to there. But after that, from there to food and beverage. Food and beverage was another different kind of aspect of a hotel, the duties that you had to do. But the one reason why I did things the way I did, meaning I started my career with Marriott, but this was with Courtyard Division, okay, Courtyard by Marriott Division, so which was a limited service or select service hotel. In order for me, because I knew where I was going to end up, I knew I was going to be in sales, but I didn't have. Remember how I started this conversation? I had no hotel experience at all, so I was offered a job as a sales manager with Sheraton in New Orleans, okay? But I had no idea what the heck sales even meant. Like, what am I selling? So I said, well, in order for me to really be a good salesperson, I have to know the product, right? So that's why I chose the job with Marriott, because I knew that they would start me from the ground as a manager, but at the ground level, and kind of work your way up. And that way I understand exactly what I'm selling, right? When I eventually got into sales. So that's why I did housekeeping. That's why I did front office. That's why I did food and beverage. And then from there, I went to another hotel company and they taught me more of the operations part of it. So as a night manager, you got to see a lot of different things that were happening, right? And eventually I became the assistant general manager because at night you're kind of like the only manager that's there for the most part. And you're dealing with a lot of different stuff. So you're kind of like, as a night manager, you're kind of like the general manager at night. So I was able to deal with a lot of the issues because of my housekeeping experience, because of my front office experience in food and beverage, because you deal with that stuff every single night. I had to deal with something in one of those departments. And you talk about guest interaction and guests in your face and guests want answers now. That was like, baptism by fire. I mean, you could not get away. You could not escape guest interaction because it was going to happen. It was always going to happen at night. But because of all the things that I learned before, it helped me get to that point. So
we are curious to know about your company, which is Russell of Hotels. When did you decide to launch your company and what goal you have for the company?
eventually I went to 14 different hotels. Okay. So I just gave you maybe a little glimpse of, maybe the first 3 hotels that I worked in. But from that 3, I worked another 11 hotels. So with various positions. So from operations, I eventually went into sales, and which sales is what I really excelled at because that was more, I'm being responsible for getting business into the hotel, which I love. And then you can use marketing. You can use all the tools that you use, your marketing and for your marketing experience that you had. Selling, meaning being in front of people, talking to people, going out and soliciting business from companies and businesses and organizations, things like that. And then eventually I got to the point where when I got into sales, I became a director of sales and marketing. First a sales manager, then a director of sales, and then a director of sales and marketing, which was to me the ultimate thing. That was the biggest goal that I had for myself when I got into sales. But the biggest goal after that was like, it wasn't to be, I want to be the best director of sales and marketing. I wanted a bigger property. So I said, well, the goal for me is like a 400 room hotel with over 40,000 square feet of meeting space. That was like the ultimate for me, right? And then I got that. And when I set that goal, I got it within like 18 months of when I set that goal for myself. And I'm like, well, now what do I do? So from there, I ended up I went to be a general manager as well. I was a general manager for a little while at a hotel. And then but I didn't like it. I did not like it. And so I went back to being the director of sales and marketing. And I got a position at a hotel that I always drove by on my way to another hotel. I said, that's the hotel I want to work at because it's set on a hill and it was nice. And it was in Universal. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Universal Studios in Hollywood, but it was, to me, that was the ultimate place to work. Right. So I'm like, this is it. So eventually I got that position, right? A position came open, I applied for it and I got the job, right? And I always tell people this, I said, be careful what you ask and wish for because you may get it. So I got it, but it was one of the worst experiences of my life, the worst experience of my career because, they had a lot of internal issues that I didn't know about, a lot of internal issues and things that you just could not get over. And so at that point, and this was back in probably end of 2017, I said, what would be my next move? If I wasn't at this hotel, what would be my next move? And my next move was I always wanted to do my own thing, meaning assist hotels with marketing, with sales, just any kind of consulting where hotels are, because I had a huge operation background as well, right? So there's nothing I don't know there's nothing that I can't handle that goes on in a hotel because I've experienced 40 different hotels, 25 years. I've experienced mostly anything that can happen in a hotel, right? So I wanted to offer those types of services, but I did not want to do it for just one property. I said, well, how can I do it where I can help multiple people or multiple properties? And that was leaving the hotel and doing my own thing. So back in 2017, I left. And then starting in 2018, I started being it wasn't called Russell of Hotels then, but it was kind of the baby stages of Russell, what would become Russell of Hotels. So from there, I started Russell. I mean, eventually, maybe a year later, I started Russell of Hotels, where I was able to assist companies, assist hotels with sales, with content creating, with just making sure they're top of mind. They're, through advertising, through promotional, through branding, things like that. Things that I had learned from working in the hotel space, but now I can apply that and apply it with hotels that need that assistance.
How do you mix creativity with meeting the marketing objective of hotel brands? Can you give us an example of it?
You have to know exactly what they're looking for. So, first there's a consultation. It's not just, one size fits all. Everyone needs something a little different. So there's a conversation that has to go on with, say, the director of sales and marketing. What is their vision to, getting things across? I mean, I've done my research on the hotel before I talk to them, though. I know exactly, as far as, let's just use social media, for example. What do they do social media? Do they do anything on social media platforms? Which platforms do they use? How often are they, putting things out? What are they putting out? What kind of content? Is it, still photos versus video? Is it someone talking on it? Is it just, they're just posting? How often are they posting? Are they only posting, they post, one time last month? Well, that's not enough, right? So my job is to not necessarily let them know what they're not doing, but let them know what they could be doing. Because, and letting them know that just because you start posting, does that mean that equals business? Because it doesn't work like that. So we're doing things, are we doing it because we want to get business immediately? Well, that's not going to happen on social media. Or are we doing it because we want to let people know what we stand for, what we do, who we are, kind of just getting the mindset that, okay, Hotel X is now posting a lot of information. They do things for, they have hotel rooms. They're located next to, Universal Studios, or they have specials for, they have a bar, they have a special family specials. I mean, all these different things that hotels sometimes forget about, letting people know, letting the world know that they exist, because sometimes we assume that everybody knows everything about our hotel. And that's not the case. I used to assume that people knew everything about me, and they don't. So you have to continuously put information out there, because people forget. They're only going to remember the last person they saw or the last information they saw about a hotel. So you have to continuously let people know what's going on. It's hard work. I mean, even social media, people think social media is easy and, oh yeah, okay. It looks easy. Yeah, it does, right? But there's a lot of hard work in back of it. And sometimes hotels, they tend to forget that it's hard work. I mean, you have to show up daily to post something, right? If that's a special you got going on, if you want to, talk about your restaurant, you want to talk about your service levels, always include somebody that works in there. If they're okay with that, include, like, people like to see, so-and-so has been at this hotel for 25 years. They've been working in this department for 25 years. So there's a story behind it. When was this story? I mean, when was this hotel open? It was open in the 20s. Oh my God, the 20s. I mean, now you want to take advantage of the architecture, because the architecture in the 20s is a lot different than the architecture now. There's certain groups of people that want to see that. So there's a story that you have to associate with your hotel, with your establishment, with your property. And sometimes that involves people. And once you start throwing people in there, that's when stuff starts resonating with a lot of people out there. They're like, oh my God, this is great. We want to stay there, because of the thing that you're posting about. So first, just to answer, going back, kind of circling back to your initial question. Yeah, I have to know exactly what they're looking for. What's the perfect picture for them? I mean, there's nothing perfect, but what do they see as far as how do you want to be seen out there? What story do you want to project? How often are you willing to, commit to doing these things? I mean, I could do it for them, but sometimes they want to do it themselves. And that's fine too. I can teach someone how to do things, but it has to be on a regular basis. It's not just one size fits all or one post and that's it. I'm gonna start getting all this business. And a lot of times that's what they think. So there's a disconnect from people as well, where they think that okay, if I post 2 times, then I should be getting all this business. Well, no, that's not how it works. Okay, so my job is to educate them along the journey. It's a journey to get to where they want to be. But if they're willing and they're committed, I'm committed too. So.
You are hosting On Air with Russell of Hotels, a live show for hospitality professionals on social media. Could you give us insight into the main goal of the show and what encouraged you to start it?
Well, that's a good question. Back in, gosh, what year was that when I first started it? I started it in 2020. My first show was 2020. And it was a podcast, your traditional podcast was audio only, was not video at all. So I was in 2019 and I said, you know what am I going to do in 2020 that I didn't do in 2019? Because I wanted to elevate my brand. I wanted to elevate the Russell of Hotels brand. Because at that point, I was posting some things, but I knew it was not enough, right? No one knew what I was doing. Even past colleagues didn't know what I was doing. So I said, well, maybe I can start a podcast, because that was kind of the in thing. Everybody's doing a podcast, right? And this was right before COVID. This was January. COVID kind of hit in March. This was January. So I did my research on how I would do a podcast, because there was this one place called LA Talk Radio that did like a digital internet-based radio station. So I just started doing that, right? I paid them, to do that, because the reason why I did this was because I wanted more people to know about what I did. So the premise for me was like, okay, I want people to know what I do. I want to invite guests on, and then they can talk about what they do. How did they get in this hospitality space and all this stuff? So it started off as basically like a talk show. And that's, in my mind, that's what I was doing. I was doing a talk show, but it was, on radio or whatever. So I started that, and I was taking that same posting I was putting on my Facebook and all these, social media platforms, and it started to catch on with people. And I said, well, this is good. Okay. So I started, I did like 90 shows at LA Talk Radio, but this was right before they started doing, maybe halfway through. That's when Facebook Live became popular. That way you can see, them on the video, and you could, you can hear them on audio too. So once that happened, I thought that was the greatest thing, because now they got a chance to see who I am and see who my guests were. So, and then it started catching on maybe a little more. And then I started putting things on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And then it's really started to catch on. And I said, well, maybe I'm on to something. So I did 90 shows with LA Talk Radio, and then I'm learning along the way. I'm learning how they do things. And then I started doing things on my own. So I left LA Talk Radio and then just started doing it from my house. I said, let me make a little studio here, and I'll start doing the same things. Now I'm not just the host, I'm the producer, I'm the director, I'm doing all these things, which is a lot of work. I mean, you guys know that, you have to put in a lot of work, especially if you're editing and all that kind of stuff too, which, if you guys know that I do live, I don't like to edit. That's the reason why I do live shows, because I don't like to edit. So that's exactly why. So it's what you see is what you get. If I make a mistake, if I say something wrong, that's okay, because to me, that's part of who I am anyway. I'm not going to always say the right thing, and I'm going to try to make a joke about what I said wrong, right? So, so the show was a way for me to reach more people, and it was a way to reach more people that maybe other people in my position weren't doing, because that's one thing, is being disruptive. One thing I always say is I'm disruptive, meaning I go against the grain of anyone else that's doing something in marketing. Most people are doing the traditional ways. They're doing, they just follow this one path. Not many people are doing podcasts. Not many people are doing live hospitality talk shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, because people will say, this is one of the common things that I used to get was, there's so many podcasts out there. Then, when COVID hit, then a lot of things shut down. Well, I continued during COVID. I didn't stop. I continued going, right? And a lot of people got laid off, and I would talk about those things. I would talk about, when things were going to open back up. I mean, I talked about a lot of different things, and I gained a lot of audience because I was being consistent. It's one thing that I can say, that consistency is the key to anything that you do, right? So anybody that's out there that's thinking about like doing a podcast and things like that, I always tell them to do it. They say, well, there's so many podcasts out there. Well, last count, there's like over 3 million podcasts out there. But the key here is not all of them are active. Only a smaller percentage are active. People are falling out all the time. And the average average episodes for podcasts is 6. 6 people, it's not 6 people. They will only go, each podcast will go an average of 6 episodes, and that's it. Most people will say, oh, this is not what I thought it would be, or I'm not getting business because of it, or no one's listening. I never thought like that. I just said, this is another extension of my marketing efforts. It's the same thing. If you post something on the side of a billboard on the side of a highway, how many people are actually seeing that? You don't know, right? But someone's seeing it, but it's still there. It's continuously there. You continuously drive by it, right? It's the same thing with media, social media, things like that. Everyone's not going to see it the first time. So you have to continuously do it. I know I said this and I repeat myself a lot, but because it's important that as a marketer, you have to repeat yourself with your marketing efforts. So On Air with Russell of Hotels was a way for me to reach people that I could not reach before. I've reached people in other countries. I didn't know that I was reaching people in other countries. I started doing interviews and other podcasts with other people in other countries. So I know I have a worldwide reach, which I never in my wildest dreams thought that would happen. I collaborate with people overseas all the time, and I never thought that would happen. But I guess, it just comes with the work that you put in. If you put in enough work, people will notice you, and then people ask you to do things, and you keep it going. So that was the reason for Russell of Hotels. The podcast.
You spent more than 25 years in the hotel industry. What is your perspective on the future of hospitality? And where do you think this industry is going, specifically in terms of enhancing guest experience and incorporating technology?
That's a good question. Well, I'll just say this first. Wherever they're going, we need to make sure we're paying attention to the service levels. Meaning, we can come up with all the technology that we want, but there's nothing that's going to take the place of training our employees, especially our new employees that did not have, they didn't come up in the world of hospitality. They didn't kind of work their way up. A lot of those people are either they've been phased out, they retired or moved on or got disenchanted with the hospitality industry because of COVID or whatever, or maybe because of the way they were treated. But the new people that are coming in, we need to spend more time in training them because I'm not getting the warm and fuzzy feelings that I used to get, several years ago. And I travel quite a bit. I just came back from a trip a week ago today. So I just came back from a trip. So I'm looking at, when I go to visit hotels, I'm there on business, but I'm going with I guess the mindset of a guest and what, I should be getting or what they should be asking me, or how I should be greeted and things like that. And I'm not getting a lot of that. So we need to spend a lot more before we get into, technology and all that kind of stuff. We need to make sure that we're taking care of our employees first, because it's the employees that take care of the guests, right? So we need to invest more money into guest training, or employee training. Okay, let me take that back. Not guest training. We need to spend more time in training our employees, because our employees are frontline, with our guests, right? So if they're taken care of, then they'll take care of the guests. If we're not taking care of them, there's going to be a problem. But what I see moving forward is, a lot more technology. Technology is expensive, so hotels are sometimes the last, industries to embrace technology, and it's because of how much it costs and things like that. But there are things that are going on that I see, and that's like, say, and these things came up because of COVID. I mean, these things were already available, but they became, I guess, they became more top of mind because of COVID. And this is like contactless technology. Like, say, checking in on your app instead of going to the front desk. I mean, those things became heightened during COVID, but several years before that, hotels already had it. They just weren't using it. And I'll just say Hilton and Marriott were one of the first ones to come up with that technology, but they weren't pushing it because guests weren't really asking for it. Instead of just throwing it out there, they're waiting for guests to maybe ask for it. Well, they started asking for it because of COVID, because they didn't want to contact anybody. They didn't want any contact with anybody. They just want to come in, check in. So, now you can do things from your phone, which is good, right? But I think more people, we need to start pushing that more. Hotels need to start pushing it more, as that is an option that you don't have to go to the front desk at all. Because if I'm a guest, I really don't want to go by the front desk. I'd rather just go to my room, assign my room. Okay, I'm in room 220. I'll just go to room 220. I don't have to go to the front desk unless I really need something. And normally I don't, right? So every guest is different. So we have to personalize it. And that's another thing that coming up is like personalized service, right? And I'm pretty sure that will work through your phone as well. But it comes with your profile. Whatever your profile is that you fill out with, say, if you're a Bonvoy member or a Hyatt Worldwide member or a Hilton Honors member, you fill out a profile, and then you should, okay, I don't want to be contacted. Okay, I want contactless service. Okay, so they know that that's what you're looking for, right? So meaning they give you whatever steps they need to take for you to get that. Hopefully, they give that to you, right? So, but whatever, okay, maybe I like breakfast in the morning. Okay, delivered to my room. Okay, that's part of my profile too. So those are things that they're being proactive. They're not reacting, meaning I don't have to call and ask for it. They see it in my profile, right? So those are things that they're in the works. I don't think we're there yet, but those are in the works. So that's two things: contactless service or contactless technology, and then personalization with technology, meaning whatever your profile is of, I like a bottle of beer, when I check in, you know what I mean? Although, yeah, they're going to charge me for it. That's fine, right? But it's there when I get there. Those are things that it's being ahead of the curve instead of, behind it, right? So it's anticipating that that's what you're going to want. And some hotels are doing that now. And it goes with the level of hotel. I mean, it can be, 4 diamond, 5 diamond. Okay, now the higher level of hotel you stay in, the more that you're going to get that, right? Now, your middle of the road hotels have not adopted that yet, or they're not there yet. But I foresee that's going to be the next thing. Okay, we're already using like AI, because a lot of that's a good buzzword. AI, what's going on with AI? AI is scary, and this and that's going to take over. I don't believe all that. I believe it will enhance the guest experience, and it eliminates. A lot of people may think that, well, it's going to eliminate some jobs, right? Well, I don't look at it like that. I think it's more, it will enhance jobs, or maybe it will, other people, maybe people that were doing those jobs, maybe they can do something else in order to enhance the guest experience even further. So what I mean by that is, let's say AI. Okay, so you call in, and this is being done already. So people think AI is coming. No, AI is already here. So you call a hotel, and normally you don't get to talk to anyone anyway. It gives you press 1 for this, press 2 if you want sales. Okay, you press one or two, and it says, okay, you want to make a reservation. Is this a existing reservation or is this a new reservation? I mean, that's all AI, right? That is all AI, but people, they think AI looks something different. Well, that's AI. I mean, that's artificial intelligence. It's prompted by your voice, right? So those things are here. A lot of the hotel companies are already using that. So some people will say, well, AI is coming. Well, no, AI has been here. It's just that we didn't have a term for it. We didn't have a name for it. Now that all these other industries are saying AI, now people within the hotel space are trying to throw AI out there too. But I use it myself. I use it. I'm not sure if you've seen any of the promotionals that I do for like On Air with Russell of Hotels or whatever. But it's my likeness, but it's not me. It's basically I type in a script, and it basically reads it, and it's my likeness, and it's my mouth moving, but it's not my voice. My voice is off. It hasn't learned my voice exactly, but I use it all the time. I tell people, I said, hey, the promotional thing that I put out for my show is AI, and they're like, what do you mean it's AI? I said, that's not me. That is you. What do you mean it's not you? And I said, no, it's my likeness. It's an avatar, but everything else I just typed in the script. Yeah, so that's exactly how they're using, the chat bots and all that kind of stuff. So
Could you share the names of some influencers who help you in building your career?
yeah, I can start off with, I think I mentioned Dr. or Professor Glenn Voss. He was the one at Cal Poly Pomona that basically taught me that I needed to be in sales. Okay, he taught me that. He said operations. He said learn it, but he said don't spend all your time there. He said because you be wasting your talent. So when I took that advice and I took that to heart, and that's what I did. I learned maybe I think I did about 6 years in operations, just so I learned what I'm selling, and then basically I got into sales from there and have not looked back. So Glenn Voss would be one. Another gentleman by the name of Joe Carrillo, who was with Marriott Hotels. He was one of my first, I'm gonna say, real general manager. And what I mean by real, meaning he took time to I had other GMs, but they didn't take time to kind of, see the thing that you wanted to do or have an interest in you. So he basically helped me out in my career just by showing an interest and asking me, what did I want to do? What do I foresee myself doing? Well, this is the path you need to go on if you're going to do that, because a lot of times people don't give you paths. I don't care what company you work for. They don't give you necessarily, okay, this is the drawn out path that you need to take to get to where you are, right? It's good to have advocates, people that will fight for you. And he was one of those people. Another one there's two people that hired me with Marriott. That's Sam Veneziano and Bridget Billings. This has been almost 30 years that they hired me, right? But I still remember them. I still remember the first conversation I had with them because they made that much of an impact on my life. So I appreciate what they did. And then Jim Schichter who was with Broughton Hotels. He's probably he convinced me to be a general manager when I didn't want to be a GM, but he convinced me, although I didn't like it. Okay, I quickly got out of that and went back to being a director of sales and marketing, but I got to see things that I didn't see before, meaning how the operation works as from sitting in the big seat, sitting in the seat of a general manager. So it was still good experience. It doesn't matter. Even I think early on during this conversation, I said that one hotel that I started working at, it was the worst experience of my career, but I still learned things from it. Regardless if it was the worst experience, it was still an experience. It was something that I learned, and it's something that I still apply to this day. So, but getting back to, the people that you said were asking me, the people that were influential, those were the people that I would say that were most influential in my career. And then there's still people to this day, Joe Tatizian, Victor Simmons, those are people, Ricky Hopkins, those are people that, to this day still, I call them and ask them for advice. They don't know that I'm asking for advice, but, the information that we talk about is valuable. Sometimes I couldn't not that I can't, do things without them, no, but they talk about things in a way that makes me understand a little bit more, as far as, because one who may have experience in human resources, another one may have experience in, site selection or meeting management and things like that. So I learn a lot from them in different aspects of what I do now.
Being recognized as one of the most influential people, social media personality, and your expertise in hotel consulting and marketing. So, if I'm going to ask this, what advice you would share with young professionals looking to start their careers, and what skills do you believe are important for them to be successful in this industry?
It's still important to know why they want to come in, right? What do they expect from it? Because it's a lot of hard work, okay? I mean, to get to where we are at this point, we had to put in a lot of work. And a lot of times, and I hate to say this, well, maybe I don't hate to say it, but sometimes the younger generation, they want things quickly. They want to be the manager tomorrow, and they just started today,
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
Well, there's a lot of work that has to be done. There's a lot of things you got to learn. Every department is different, so you got to learn
Mm-hmm.
the entire department. And I guess it depends on what you want to do. Do you want to you see yourself being a general manager or director of sales and marketing, or you just want to work at the front desk? I mean, everybody has different goals, right? So I would first ask, because I've mentored a couple of people in the last year or so, and I asked them that. I said, well, what do you foresee yourself being? What do you want to do? And then let's see if we can get you there, right? Let's see if we can carve out a path for you to get there. So yeah, first and foremost, I would ask them that, give me your background. Like, what is your background now? Where did you come from? Did you go to school? Did you not? What are your experiences? I mean, those are things I want to know first. And then from there, okay, where do you see yourself being in this hotel? What hotels are you looking at working? Do you want to work at full service? And then you got to give them an example of what a full service hotel is versus like a select service or a limited service or even
Mm-hmm.
an economy hotel, or do you want luxury? So, I mean, there's a whole lot of different things that I didn't even think about when I was coming up. I just want to work at a hotel, you know what I mean? But I didn't realize that, like, say, Courtyard, until I started working, that Courtyard was a couple of steps below a full service Marriott, right? So I didn't know that. So now I know that I can explain, the ins and outs of this. Not that one is more superior than the other. It's just that
Mm-hmm.
there's different, there's different markets for each one of these hotels, right? And they market themselves differently. So now that I have a broad perspective, I can explain that stuff to them. So yeah, so just, basically, what they want to do, what they hope to achieve, and then what do you need? You need to have an open mind, because the things that you set out to do may not be the things you actually get. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it may take time to get there. You got to have perseverance too, because,
Yeah.
just when you think that I'm going to get to this position, then they say, well, no, we got somebody else that's going to do that now. Do you give up? Do you continue to fight for what you want? I mean, those are the things. And you got to have an advocate. You got to have people on your side too. And how do you get that? How do you gain an advocate? Is you got to bust your butt. You have to do your work. Whatever task they're giving you, you need to do it. And you need to not just do it at the bottom level, you need to do it at the highest level, because that's how people recognize you. And that's how people say, oh, I'm going to refer Maria to this position because I seen the work that she does and she's serious about it and she wants to get here. So all those things kind of matter, when you're trying to get into the hospitality industry. So yeah, it's not easy, but just like any other industry, it's not easy at all either. But you're dealing with one thing here, you're dealing with the human aspect. You're dealing with guests. And can you be in front of guests, 8 hours a day? Some of them are screaming and yelling because they didn't get the room that they wanted. Or, you check them out or they got locked out of their room, because they didn't have the right payment. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen that we don't know, because some people don't work in a hotel. They just check in and everything worked out okay, but they don't know what goes on behind the scenes of that, right? So
Yeah,
there's
right.
a lot that goes on there, but no, I definitely would not discourage aniny. I would say, okay, well, these are the things that you may have to face, okay, because I'm coming from this experience, and I always ask people, what they do in the hotel space, how they get to where they are, You know what I mean? So always ask those questions for the people that are coming up or people that are interested. Find somebody that maybe can be like a mentor and ask them, you know, how do I get to this place? I see this is what you do. How did you get there? What was your path to that? No two people's path is going to be the same, but you can still at least appreciate, you know, how they got to where they are.
Are there any upcoming conferences you are excited about attending? Can you name it?
The meetings or conferences that I go to, it's more of I'm meeting people, I'm networking with people. So like I was just in South Carolina last week. Okay, it was for the IPEC conference, which stands for Independent Planners Educational Conference. IPEC, IPEC. So it's an annual conference that I go to, and it's a way to. It was on the East Coast, so I need to have more clients on the East Coast, right? So East Coast and the Southeast. So this enables me to go and meet a lot of people, get introduced to not just the people, but their destinations that they represent or the hotels that they represent. Because a lot of my clients want to be on the East Coast, but I don't have a lot of East Coast contacts. So I have a lot of West Coast, Midwest contacts, but I need more East Coast contacts, you know, salespeople that sell destinations or these particular hotels. So the next conference that I'm going to is going to be something similar to that, where I'm able to have one-on-one appointments with, you know, the individuals that represent destinations or hotels. Because that's another thing that I do as well.
What do you do for fun and relaxation when you are not working?
I do a lot of yard work. I cut my grass. I plant flowers and stuff like that. A lot of people don't know that. They're like, yeah, right. Yeah, no, I have roses and plumerias, and yeah, I do a lot of gardening.
You have been in this industry for a long time. You have been a general manager, although you didn't like it. But do you think that the guest expectations have changed in the recent years? Because you said that you weren't getting that warm and fuzzy feeling in the hotels. But do you think it is also true for other way around? Maybe guest doesn't want that much personal contact anymore.
I think it depends on the person, but I see a shift that people don't want as much. They want it when they want it, right? They don't want to be forced to go to the front desk. They want options. So I would say the difference between before COVID and now is guests want more options. If they want to go to the front desk, they want to go to the front desk. If they don't, they shouldn't have to. And that's why we have, you know, apps and things like that where we can, you know, get our room assignment, and then we'll have a virtual key and things like that. So I think guests want more control over their experience. Okay, hotels should be there to give that experience, whatever that is. If that's from a technology standpoint, okay, that's good. If that's from a service level, okay, that's good too. But I think just guests want to be in control of what they get from a hotel these days.
You said that the hotels are generally the last ones to adopt new technology because it is expensive. But also, do you think, especially in the case of boutique hotels or independent hotels, even if they make that investment, they are sometimes not able to get the most out of that technology?
That's a good question. I would say, well, first of all, like I said, there's a cost for everything, and guests. I would say, are hotels getting what they want out of technology? I would say yes, they are, but hotels want to do it in a way where they kind of control it. They, like I said, and I gave an example, and I hope I'm answering your question. I gave an example earlier where the contactless technology was already out there before COVID, right? But they held that back for whatever reason. They weren't promoting it. Just like the QR codes, you know, the QR codes for like restaurant menus and things like that. That was out probably 3 to 5 years before COVID as well. But we weren't using that technology, right? So I think that they will, and I say they may invent something or have it on their shelf but they're not utilizing like they should be. They're not putting it out there to the masses yet. They're not pushing it like they should. So to answer your question, are they getting what they should get? No, because I think they should push it out all the time, not just because we had this pandemic or whatever. I think that if you spend the technology, you need to pass it on to the guests, right? If you spend the money, because they spend the money already, they just weren't, pushing it to the guests. So I think that, yeah, they should, when you have it, you need to put it out there.
Another thing that I want to ask is that, with your experience, what do you think is the biggest challenge that the hospitality is facing currently, especially in the terms of hotel operations, and how can we, tackle that?
What I think the biggest challenge is, I would say the biggest challenge is, and I think I mentioned earlier, it has to do with training or lack of training. Like I said, I can speak from a consumer standpoint because I am a consumer. I go to hotels all the time. And one thing I do, even locally, like I'm in Los Angeles, right? So I'll go and just sit in the lobby and see, you can learn a lot about a hotel just by sitting in the lobby and seeing how, is there a presence, meaning is there a management presence? Is there a lot going on? Is it, and what I've seen is that the line level staff aren't trained enough to handle certain situations. There's a lot of things that can go on, but if there's no manager presence, the regular line staff doesn't know how to handle certain situations. They'll wait for a manager to come out, right, in order to handle a situation, which means there needs to be more management present. And the difference between, and I'll just say this, when I'm sitting in the lobby, the hotels that I've noticed have management presence don't have issues. The ones that have don't have issues. The ones that don't have a lot of issues. And this is, like I said, you can go to any hotel and just look, just sit down and just have a chai latte, which that's what I drink. And I'm just watching what goes on, the ins and outs, guests coming in, guests going out, just the chatter at the front desk, and just do it at the lobby. Just look at the front desk. You don't have to look at anything else. Look at the front desk and see how things are being handled, how guests are being handled, how the employees are interacting with guests. Those are things that I don't know if it's becoming a lost art, but people don't know how to communicate with guests. And that's another thing that goes back to training. So we can come out with all the technology that we want to enhance the guest experience, but we first need to put more money into our training. That's restaurant training, that's front desk training, that's how to deal with guests, that's all those kinds, just the interacting part. We need to do more role playing. Like if a guest comes up to you and says this, how do you reply? I mean, back when I came up, we did a lot of role playing, certain situations that come up. We did a lot in sales too, like because we wanted to overcome objections, like say, well, a guest said no, okay, what do you say now? That kind of stuff. So we did a lot of role playing so you would know exactly how to handle a certain situation. I don't think they do that anymore. So in some respects, we need to, and I hate to say old school, we need to go back to the old school ways when it comes to training. Now, technology, I understand we need the technology and we need to embrace the technology, but guests, I think guests care about how they're treated, and you can't get that from technology. You can't get that from the building. You get hospitality from person to person, how that person made you feel. You don't look at technology and say, oh, that technology made me feel great when I checked into the hotel. No, it doesn't work like that. Or that building, oh, I love the feeling of that building when I walked in the door. No, you get the feeling from the people. But if the people aren't trained to offer hospitality or know what that even means, then we're missing the boat. So yeah, so to go back to, I know I'm just talking now, but we need to, we got technology and we need to embrace it, but we do need to do more training where the employees are concerned.
One last question before we wrap up our conversation. So you mentioned the buzzword today, AI, and you told us that it is here. But we keep hearing these words like, AI and big data and machine learning. So what do you see the future for these technologies, especially in hotel operations or, revenue optimization? What role will they play in the future?
I would say, like you said, you mentioned revenue optimization. I would say, yeah, that's going to be good because, um, when to close out certain rates and things like that. Because now you're dealing with a human to do that, right? So, if the occupancy reaches this, then you close out these rates. So AI would be perfect for that stuff, right? For revenue optimization, that's a good thing. Um, Now, as far as like reservations and things like that, like that's already being used currently, right? So yeah, we need to put more into that as well. And and I don't think we need to worry about is it going to eliminate some positions. I don't think it's going to eliminate positions. I think it can put those people in other positions to support something else, right? Um, but I think the days of you calling up, making a reservation, and those first questions that you ask, those are AI that are doing the answering the questions, right? Like, do you need reservation? Is it a new reservation? Is it an existing reservation? You can put your number in. What is the confirmation number? Okay, boom. Okay, I see you, Mr. Edmond. Blah blah blah. You're coming on this day. You're checking out on that day. How can I assist you? See, some of those things you don't need someone to basically. If AI can handle that, you could be prompted by certain things that you say. I think that's a good thing, right? And then maybe those people that were doing that before can help out in another way. They can answer questions that maybe AI cannot handle because AI is a learning tool, right? It's going to learn as it continues to go on. And it may take time for it to get to that point. So if there's harder questions, then okay, I'm going to put you on a brief hold and then you get to a live person. Okay. So it's still that live person is still there. It's just that the initial questioning is so simple that those are frequently asked questions. So they can answer those frequently asked questions. Now, there's questions that are out of the ordinary, then okay, you're going to need somebody else to do that. So I just think that we do need to embrace that. And I think that we need to assure people that it's not taking jobs, it's enhancing an operation, right? So it's leading to that thing that I said, that hospitality part, right? It's leading to that. So if it can support that, that's great. But if it's taking over, that's not a good thing because, like I said, AI is not part of hospitality. It's not gonna offer you it's not gonna give you that feeling of hospitality. It's just gonna give you a feeling that, okay, you got taken care of whatever you wanted, whatever you needed, it took care of that. But is it gonna make you feel warm and fuzzy and all that? No, it's not. It's not. So yeah, it's not going to have that. It's not going to have that warm and fuzzy feeling. And I can just use an example. And I mentioned a while ago that I use AI to do some promotional for my own business, right? But it's not. It's not engaging like I am. It's just going to basically read the script, right? And that's it. It's not going to have. It's not going to try to be funny. It's not going to make jokes like I just made earlier when you asked me a question. It's not going to do that. It's not going to make you feel funny or whatever. It's not going to make you do that, right? So those are things. Feelings are not part of AI. Okay, if that makes sense. If feelings lead to hospitality. Okay, so if you think you're going to get hospitality or enhance hospitality from using AI, you're in it for the wrong thing. That's not going to happen. It's speeding up a process, right? It's a process. So AI, I think, is a process of helping solve a problem, and maybe solving the problem is that frequently asked questions that this technology can do. It can solve, but anything harder than that, it has to be a person. There's no other way around it.
This brings us to the end of our conversation. It was an absolute pleasure having you on this podcast. We had a great time here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, once again, Russell, a big thank you for joining our podcast.
Anytime. Thank you again, Maria. Thank you, Kazim. You guys have a great day.
Thanks for watching us. I hope you found this episode interesting. Drop your thoughts in the comment box. Make sure to follow us on social media at Advanced Hospitality Technologies. We will be back with another guest. Take care and goodbye.